Now, there are points in life when you reflect on your own journey, and this is one of them, because I did a lot of my growing up in Leicester and Leicestershire. And if you'd have said to my grandparents who lived just the other side of Victoria Park, or to my late father, or even to my very bewildered mother, who's probably trying to find this on the internet, that I'd be stood here now as Chief Constable, they would have been probably quite worried about that, but in a good way. I've agonised about what to wear today. Because TEDx is kind of informal, T-shirts, caftan. So in a concession, because I've been told I can't wear a tie, I am going to take my tie off, so I've completely entered into the spirit of the event. Aha. Aha. He looks meaningfully at the man. There we go. My journey here is that I did a lot of my growing up in Market Bosworth and then Oadby. And then you'll be pleased to know that Leicestershire Police rejected me as a PC applicant. And somebody who was walking in the room behind me, who I think is talking later, was talking about persistence and keeping going and not giving up when things don't work out as you would wish them to. And I am probably an example of that, because having been rejected by here, because I'm red-green colourblind, I'm sorry for anybody in the audience who's made an outfit effort that is red and green, it means nothing to me. I have wreaked my revenge by coming back. And what I want to talk about is the journey of policing, because policing is full of people like me, local people who make a decision that they want to step forward and help. And the journey of policing where we are social glue. We stick things together. We try not to hold them back. We try to go with the world as it changes. But we do try and stick things together. And this is the place we're doing the sticking. I've got to challenge the intro. There were 250,000 people at the parade, because we counted them all. It was only 100,000 more than the planning department's plan. Which I guess means there's something in this about being flexible and working together. Because actually what that victory parade, and the ball is the wrong shape for me, I'm a Tigers kind of person. Thank you. They've won it 10 times. Imagine how big the parade's going to be for the 11th. Let's see. But what that parade was about was a place celebrating some attributes about togetherness, about the underdog, and about putting this place on the map. And look behind me. I mean, we are now world leaders all over the world in policing. If they want to bury a medieval king, we are their go-to people. This is a great place, and we sometimes do, and I think I can say it because I am a son of this place. We kind of undersell ourselves sometimes. Leicester. No, it is a great place, and that's why today is important. And that parade was an amazing and moving thing to be involved in. And I was privileged to do the briefing to the cops, and there are some of my colleagues in the room, and I stood up and said, you will never do anything like this ever, 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 ever again. Just enjoy every moment of this remarkable thing and the journey that has brought us here. Now, for policing, the journey starts with this guy, Sir Robert Peel, who, having failed dismally across the 1820s to persuade Parliament that there should be this thing called professional policing, finally persuaded them in 1829. And what he actually said famously was, the police are the public and the public are the police. And lots of people remember that bit. The bit that they don't always remember was what he said after that, which was that I get paid for doing things full time that you all have a responsibility to do in the interests of community welfare and community existence. So I get paid for doing something that we all need to do, a journey that we all need to share that makes our communities work well together, have some well-being together. And this is the man who started it all in Leicester. Sideburns like a pair of otters. They're absolutely magnificent, aren't they? Frederick Goodyear, if you want to go and see him, he's in Welford Road Cemetery. He was chief of the city of Leicester and then the county of Leicestershire. He did 40 years as a chief. He actually died in office. We have had it cleaned since. But he brought this concept of working with on a journey that for him started in a stagecoach because the train hadn't been built yet. And he came up from London because he'd been a cop in London. And this are his team. Now, it's fair to say the recruiting department did not win the Diversity Recruiting Award that year. But those guys, and they were guys, were really bold and brave because they applied for a job that hadn't used to exist. And their journey was, from all sorts of backgrounds, to walk out wearing the rather splendid top hat and tailcoat, pioneering, doing something nobody had ever done before, with no radios, no stab vest, no nothing, just their mouths and a bit of common sense. The photo is actually at the Guildhall, which was the first police headquarters. Even Yoda is with us. Or Yoda is with us, he is. Would that work better? We deal with some really difficult stuff. It is not all tea and love. We deal, and you're going to hear from one of the other speakers later, we deal with radicalisation. How do you deal with people who are susceptible and vulnerable to being radicalised? How do you safeguard them? We deal with the intransigent, difficult challenges. That photo was taken on a day a group of people exercised their freedom of speech in our city, and some other people exercised their freedom of speech to tell them that they didn't like what they were saying. Our job in all of that is to be the biggest users of human rights in Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland, and walk the line through the middle and hold that line through the middle, because that right is a right people have journeyed to wars for. So sometimes we have to suck it up and ignore what we think as people, and our journey is a journey that protects rights and privileges and ethics and things that are pretty abstract. And then the world changes. I can see nodding sagely at me one of my digital wizzos who's enabled me to push the ethical boundaries of what we can look at if we're investigating somebody for a really serious crime. You are currently 20 times more likely to be a victim online than you are walking down the street outside. That's a kind of national figure. So one of the challenges for our journey is that a journey that is often portrayed as someone in a yellow jacket with a big hat on walking down the street is now a journey into this ethereal, grey, cyberspacey thing that people of my age might not quite understand, but we know it's there. So it's a journey that you can't see. It's a journey that's hard to share in the same way. And it's a journey that means that sharing means that a community isn't the people who live in the St Matthew's estate or on the Highfields. It's people who have a shared interest all across the world. One of my predecessors was a guy called Robert Mark, who finished up as Commissioner of the Met, actually. And he talked about us as the anvil, and that our journey was to be an anvil on which communities beat out their problems, and that is our role, is to attenuate those problems and moderate those problems and help those communities take a journey forwards. I had to go at modernising it because an anvil is quite old-fashioned, although I did follow a farrier's van down Saw Valley Way the other day, so they are still out there and horses are still being shod. I think we're a firewall now that we try to protect communities from harm, and we do that by working with people and trying to share a journey about where do you want to get to and how do you want to get there. How do we deal with population growth, the proliferation of cyber? How does that journey look going forwards? Allegedly, in my job title, it says something about being strategic. I never ever know what that bit means, but I didn't say that on the job interview, to be fair. This is the best definition of strategic. Gretzky was an ice hockey player, and he said, let's go to where the puck is, not where it's been. And that was how he said he became, they call him the Great One. So how do we make sure that we're going to where the game is going to be, not where it has been? So we've been looking at things differently, and our journey is one where we've been looking at numbers and analysis. And the high volume picture is if you just count numbers of where things happen. And the high harm picture is what that looks like if you map the harm that is caused online through child abuse, through domestic abuse. And we've started moving our resources to try and deal with those harms because we think that's the next stage of our journey. Because our journey has to be about mitigating harm. And that harm might be the threat of terror. It might be the threat of abuse. But that's where our journey is taking us. And of course, good old Dixon. Now, Dixon has become a symbol of everything about British policing. Who knows what happened to him? Oh, I heard it. Who said it? Say it louder.
He was shot.
He was shot. So the iconic figure of British policing was actually shot by an organised criminal because he wasn't match fit for the challenges that he faced. And that slide for me is about those challenges. The desire to have a visible, trusted presence in every neighbourhood, to share the journeys of that neighbourhood. To the world of cyber and Mr. Cruz and Minority Report, where he works in the future crimes team. And they actually can change time to get ahead and stop things happening. And of course, it's done in a world where that top picture was a terrorist attack in Leicester a few years ago. And the bottom picture is what my kids look like when they come back from holiday. Because they're like this all the time. So in concluding, our journey is a journey that reflects the journey of Leicester. We've only been part of that journey for 180 years. But our journey is to join you all in getting upstream of the problems, the challenges, the things that bother communities. And our journey is a journey of local people. Because all of the people doing this are local people who live locally. Their partners are local, their families are local, their mums and dads are local. And they are trying to make the world a better place. Please join me in that journey. Thank you.